What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode, another week of 30 NSG. On today's show, we got three stories, or three topics, I should say. We're going to be talking about your favorite video game doesn't need a remake. This comes from Digital Trends. We're going to be talking about and watching a PC gamer and then a video of Dune Awakens. You physically fly your between servers on an overland map, so we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about UK retailer game reportedly stopped selling physical games in store. So just get another point of bye-bye physical games, because now stores are not selling them over in the UK in certain franchises. This is what we do each and every single day, Monday through Thursday, from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. We talk about video game topics, conversations, read the articles on stream, and then give you my thoughts and have conversation with you guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you'd like to go above and beyond that. Become a member as little as $5. What's going on, chat? How's everyone doing? Good morning, Eclipse, Travis, Behemoth. Good morning, good morning. Come on, Sarge. Travis says, so evidently I'm crazy because I saw the leaked pictures from Wolverine, which, mind you, will still work. Is it still work in progress? And everyone likes Jean Grey looks so ugly. I've always thought she looked ugly. I can't agree with you to say that she's always been ugly. I guess different looks for different people. But I did see the leak, and 100% it does look bad. But at the same time, I do agree that it's still in early access, still early progress, and they could change it or whatnot. But Eclipse says, what? Jean Grey looks ugly. What the hell are you watching? I think he's talking about, well, actually, he's talking about both. He's saying they're both ugly. So I don't know where he's going. Favorite video game needs a remake. How else would you pay $75 for them to ruin Mass Effect? Well, I didn't have to pay $75 to ruin Mass Effect on Game Pass. Sarge says, Travis, you were crazy before you started typing today, and then Jean Grey is supposed to be an older woman who still looks amazing and super intelligent. She's supposed to be a total package. That is true. That is true. Come on, Kylo. All right, let's start off with the first story. Okay, the first story. Come on, Robert Jones. First story we got here is your favorite video game doesn't need a remake. This comes from Digital Trends. Digital Trends. If you guys like what we do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations about it. Make your day go by a little bit faster. Your favorite video game doesn't need a remake. Okay, when you watch as many video game showcases as I do, as the article author says, start to notice some patterns in a chat. Casual requests for certain games have always a way of snowballing into memes. And you watch just about any stream this June, you'll probably caught pleased about the Hollow Knight Silk Song news, or even if you didn't even make much sense, while Grand Theft Auto 6 is still in king of the fan begging, and I've noticed a rival of Wings recently, Bloodborne. Okay, he says fans of FromSoft 2015 PlayStation 4's classic have begged for a scrap of news about the game over the years, and some of these demands are reasonable. Requests for PC port, a 60 frames per second update, or a sequel seem to be considering a pedigree. But last month's PlayStation State of Play pushed me to my limits when I saw Sony's YouTube chat flooded with chats of Bloodborne remaster or remake. He says, as a career fun killer, I'm here to burst some bubbles. No, Bloodborne does not need a remake. And I'll go as far as to say a few, if any, of our favorite games do. Right? So I saw this title about, you know how I feel about remakes and remasters, right? I don't like them. Right? Make new things, make sequels, do something, right? But they make remakes and remasters. So I was like, I gotta read this. I don't know what he's gonna say, but I'm in because he's saying he doesn't want remakes. So he's already got a fan in me so far. Okay, so remake overload. Sarge also said that, was it like 2 years ago? Said last year would be the year of the remakes. Okay, Waterbear has also said that. Okay, so remake overload. To give Bloodborne Hive its due requests for a remake or remaster aren't unreasonable. We're currently living through a double-dip boom for the video game industry. Just about every major publisher is revisiting the classics in some degree, whether it's Square Enix with Final Fantasy VII, EA with Dead Space, or Sony with The Last of Us. Even Nintendo is in all on it, on the trend of retouches of Super Mario RPG, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and more. If you love Bloodborne, I can see why you might want Sony to give it some overdue love. Now, what's more absurd is the idea that 9-year-old PlayStation 4 game is desperate need to revisit outside of modern platform upgrade. Bloodborne still feels like a perfectly modern game by today's standards. It still looks and plays great, okay? Great today. And it flaws, it has very still largely present of recent FromSoft games like Elden Ring. Aside from doubling its frame rate, there's very little reason for FromSoft could likely do a retouch in the same way that Bluepoint did for fantastic moderations of Demon's Souls. A rougher PlayStation 3 game benefited from a cleanup. Arguments for remakes would feel reasonable where it's difficult to get a copy of the original, but Bloodborne doesn't have a problem either. Well, here's the problem, right? With digital games coming in as a major factor here, that you could, I wish more companies would take all their old games, put them on if you own the disc or something, verify it, and let me play it, right? I already own your game. A lot of companies, a lot of systems now are backwards compatible and whatnot. But again, you don't need remakes, remasters. You should just be able to put the game that you want to play into the system that you already have. But you can't because, well, they're going digital. And then you have to buy it again. And if you want to buy it again, why do I want shittier graphics, right? So, and then trying to buy an older game, well, they're extremely high prices now, right? So when we were trying to buy the Transformers game, Fall of Cybertron, it was like $218. I was like, I'm not paying that. And we found it for $48, right? But it's crazy. The secondhand market is out of control right now. You can even play it on PlayStation Plus Extra if you already subscribe, or a simple PC port would be almost. But there's no world in which it makes sense for double dip on the game like this in 2024. But this hasn't stopped publishers from doing it anyway. He says, well, I started a piece talking about Bloodborne fans. Not only that actually frustrates me, rather requests for projects like this speak for wider state of the video game industry. And this is trying to squeeze as much money out of the players as possible these days through nostalgia. Okay? That's a big thing that we always talk about here, right? Nostalgia is a huge thing. No matter what it is, right? And I'm even guilty of this, right? Sarge and us had a conversation on Thursday night. I said, if you take a game like Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, I know those characters, right? So if you make a game that has Star Wars in it, Marvel in it, Transformers in it, that automatically brings me back to when I was a child. It brings the nostalgia feeling back to my head, right? So this is why I lean more towards those games, because of the nostalgia factor, okay? So he says, though it can be exciting to see a forgotten or particularly dated game reimagined, publishers currently obsessed about bringing any of everything back from the dead, even if it's not necessary. It's building a tiring culture. It devalues the very game and companies claim to celebrate. He says, look at 2024's release calendar, and you'll find a dominated by remakes and remasters. It's like Sarge is like psychic as well, right? He said this. Many of which head scratchers that started in January, which wholly unnecessary and even detrimental. Okay, remaster of The Last of Us Part 2 has continued the past 6 months. Persona 3 Brothers, Tales of Two Sons, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. More have padded out the first half of the year. Then there's way more to Until Dawn, Silent Hill 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, and even Epic Mickey are getting revisited this year. Some projects make sense, like Ribbon's reimagining. Others are harder to justify. Okay. The Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door, for instance, Nintendo gave a GameCube classic some love this year with the remake, but that doesn't really do much of the port couldn't have. Aside from adding tutorials and refreshing it already a solid art, it feels about the same as it did when the GameCube. Okay, and this is another thing they could have done easily. Now, obviously, I understand why Nintendo does it; they want to make money, but they could have taken it and put it on that service they have where you pay $50 for the year and play all the old games from GameCube, N64, and all the original NESs and whatnot. They could have put that on there. Okay, maybe they do. I have no idea. Some even argue that the inferior version is due to a slower turn-based battles and drop from 60 frames on GameCube to 30 frames on the Switch. While I enjoy my time with it, I couldn't help but ask myself why Nintendo couldn't have added the original to Switch Online catalog. There you go, right? Rather than charging fans a full-price revisit. There you go. At least we're on the same wavelength as the guy who's writing this article, right? Like, why didn't they just take the game? Because they do that with other games, right? You could go on Nintendo right now, go to the online section, and the catalog that they have, and you can play. You pay $50 for the year. They have not all. They have lots of games from the older NES, N64 game, right? Why remake this and put it on the new Switch, right? Why couldn't I just play the old version on the Switch? It doesn't make sense for me. I understand why they do it, because they want to charge people, full price for a game that's, 12 years old. So other upcoming projects have me even more skeptical. Konami's Metal Gear Solid Delta will remake the classic Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, but without the Kojima visionary maker or game maker who made the original what it is at the helm. Blooper team upcoming Silent Hill 2 remake is similar to Odd Cells, as also as it looks to smooth over the off-kilter elements and PS1 era that define the original. Okay, says the message across the industry right now seems to be that the old games are broken toys that we need fixing, rather than embracing the warrants and the design and decisions of the old games. Everything has to look, sound, and play better. Sometimes it can even have a positive impact. The Last of Us Part 1 came to a crucial suite of accessible features. More often than not, though, many of today's remakes feel more like ways to milk popular IP for all that they're worth. Okay, he says, we did get a Persona 3 Reload because the original benefited from the touch-up, or the Atlas, see a way to get money from our fans and toiled away from Persona 6. For what it's worth, Reloaded strikes me as a creative step down for Persona 3 and the game that you can also buy on modern platforms right now. He continues by saying, that's where I came back around to the frustrations me with the Bloodborne mania. Remakes have begun to feel less of an act of artistic preservation and more like a calculated business move and take advantage of nostalgia. We've been talking about this, and this is why I don't like remakes and remasters, okay? Because it's minimal viable product. You can take something that's already there and then just remaster it and then charge full price for it again, and you get the best possible outcome for the companies when they don't have to put any effort into anything. Someone else already put the effort in. They just kind of recoat the paint. That's like me taking like the Mona Lisa, right? You take the Mona Lisa, and the Mona Lisa is an oil painting, okay? But I want to modernize it in some cartoon, so I redraw it again, but I make it in anime form. That's not making a new piece of product. That's the Mona Lisa just updated into your style of modern whatever. Okay. So Final Fantasy VII Remake, Capcom's Resident Evil remakes go the extra mile, but I can't say that the way for well-done projects like Dead Space, how would a remake Bloodborne deepened or understanding the appreciation of the game in a way it's just replaying it couldn't. Okay. He says, sometimes I can't help but feel that remakes have become a half-measured compromise for the player's actual need. An easy, legal way to buy and play old games. Why can't I buy the original Silent Hill 2 on Steam? Why was the borderline impossible for legal play Paper Mario for the Thousand Doors until last month? Can't we just put Bloodborne on PC and leave it there as an original glory? Every time fans buy into the marketing spin, it feels like we get further away from the true preservation solution. So no, I don't want to keep playing the same classics with better graphics or modern controls. I'd be happy to clam just being able to access the games I've loved love anytime is too much to ask. Yeah, at some point, right? This is just it. A lot of the companies don't want to make new games because there's more risk involved in making a brand new IP. Look at Immortals of Avium, right? EA took money, risk factor, put it into a brand new IP, and it didn't do very well. Okay, they didn't make their money back. There's lots of games that come out that are brand new that didn't make their money back. But what makes their money is the games that made a shit ton of money in the past, and they just redo them, remake them, remaster them, stick it up. Oh, we have 30 frames, 60 frames. You can play this. I hate that. You could go play those games, right? I hate this for movies as well, right? I don't need a remake of my favorite movie. I could just go watch the old movie. The same. Okay, I don't need a remake of Back to the Future. I can go watch Back to the Future. I don't need a remake of whatever, Indiana Jones. I can go watch the original Indiana Jones, right? I don't need to watch Total Recall, the brand new one, or the new Terminator or whatever it is. I can go watch the old ones. In video games, it's the same way. Yes, people weren't alive back then and play a game on the NES, okay? But you can get an emulator, right? That's out there. You can literally just play the game. You're like, oh, you know what's a great game? So it's not super like bad. Mass Effect, for instance, right? You could go play Mass Effect, but they remastered Mass Effect. Why? Because they can make more money off of you that way than taking the other. These games still exist. You can still go buy them. Okay, I'm playing the Star Wars game, Empires at War. Okay, 16 years old. Looks fantastic. Okay, for what it was. You do not need to make a game or remake or remaster of these games so close. Like, I think it's stupid that Sony did this for The Last of Us so fast. It's just bad in my opinion. It's just lazy in my opinion. You can think of the way you think. I think the way I think. I don't like remasters. I don't like remakes. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do you think we're getting more remakes and remasters? I do, because it's the least, it's the least effort that you have to put into a game. Even when they go back and do Dead Space a little bit better and put a little bit more things in, someone's going to defend it and go, well, it's not a remake. They changed it completely. It's still low-hanging fruit. They still didn't do as much effort as they did with a brand new game or a brand new IP. But again, these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right. Let me go back up where you guys started talking. Sarge says, you're goddamn right. My favorite video game doesn't need a remake. I don't mind remakes here and then, but most don't. Clip says, we just want 60 frames. No one said anything about a remake for the game, just a remaster for 60 frames per second. Not true. I want a remake of Avengers. No, you don't need a remake of Avengers. Sarge says, remakes equals no money and no vision. Chris says, rather than a remake, why not just remaster for Bloodborne? Oh, yeah. I just put the game on PC. This is the way it is. Ron Slusher says, Redfall doesn't have to worry about remakes problem. Crowded House says, first of all, Bloodborne, at the very least, needs a remake or remaster. Go back and play it. The lighting is the main areas look flat and textures are awful, not to mention that the frame pacing issue. House, you understand, though, that was the technology back then. They don't need to remake that. Back then, you didn't think the way you think now. I'm just saying. Right? Right? Capcom has done the best with the remakes since they don't remake them. A one-to-one strike great balance and add balance of new and familiar. Still lazy though, Marshall. It's still lazy, Jason. I don't exactly mind. I love the game that is the way it is, even if it runs at 30 frames. But yeah, remasters would be better rather than a remake graphic overhaul. Such as, hey chat, if anyone else is seeing the Ebony mobile game commercial, and say to yourself, who is playing this game? They play like shit. I can do better. I can do better. And I think about it downloading it. I don't even know what that is. I don't see commercials. I don't know what that is, Sarge. Eclipse says, I love Resident Evil 4 Remake. To me, it was better than the original, but it also played the original too. So I got them both. What's going on, Rose? Disagree. They updated Paper Mario with major quality life changes. But it runs less, right? It was 60 frames per second on the older one and 30 frames now. It's actually worse. I probably won't get to play Thousand Year Door till next year. So much of my backlog. But you know what? Nintendo holds their quality. It'll probably still be full price, Jason. It's crazy. I waited so long to buy Ultimate Alliance back in the day when it came out on the Switch. I waited like a year and a half afterwards, and it was still full price. Travis says, my rule on a remake is it must be at least 10 years old or older. Bloodborne more than 10 years. We talked about that a couple months ago, right? I said 10. People started pushing back on me like, you don't need to be 10 years. I said at minimum to even think about it, 10 years. Or at least like 2 generations of consoles or something. Some games deserve remakes. I would rather the company come out with something new than something old. Personally. You may think that way, but at the end of the day, they make money, and that's what talks. Oh yeah, I know exactly why they make it, Rose. Exactly why I said it. I said they're gonna make it because that's what makes them money. The least viable. It's the minimal viable product, right? They don't have to put all the effort in and do 3 to 5 year development time for a brand new game. They can literally just put the game out there, put a new coat of paint on it, and then sell it. If you just want to play and don't care about collecting, emulating is truly the best. Upscaling graphics is 60 frames, and it's in the adapter. You can also use the original controller. Well, you can't even collect now, right? Collecting is obsolete because you're not even collecting the original game anymore. Jax82 says, Naughty Dog thought doing a remake of Last of Us 1 from 2013 and doing a remaster of Last of Us 2 came out in 2020. At some point, it's time to move on and make something new. Right. Right. How much you want? Look, how many times has fucking Bethesda come out with Skyrim? Why? Because it's minimal viable product. They can put out something super fast and make an influx of money. Rose says, and the Dead Space one, I disagree. They completely redid the one from the ground up, from music to lighting, and they put it in the amount of work that you would a new game. How many years did it take them to do it? How many years did it make them to take that game? Did it take them as long as it did to make Dead Space 1? Like the actual Dead Space? If the answer is no, then it's the minimal viable product. And I don't know what the answer is. I'm asking, right? If they put as much time as they did in with the original game, then it's cool. If they put in less time than the original game, then it's minimal viable product. I don't care if they added a couple things new and stuff like that to give it a shiny coat of paint. So you could change a full price or remaster game that has just some updates. You're saying a full price or half of the effort. If the company isn't selling you the product anymore, then emulate away. I mean, they didn't need a remaster of the original Star Wars films, but they did. Right, and people didn't like those. Right? George Lucas went back and changed shit in the back. I don't need, right? And why did they do that? So they can sell it again. Exactly why to sell it again. Right? I know where I stand, Rose. I stand on I don't like remakes, I don't like remasters. Doesn't matter what industry it's in. The only thing close that I would like is a cover song in the music industry when some artist made a song and someone else covered that song in a different format, right? So if it was like a ballad and they did it in a rock or a punk, which is not really a remake or a remaster because it's not the same artist making the same thing. That's the closest I'll give you to someone making something that was already made. But it's also minimal viable product because that song was already written, okay? And all they had to do was change things to make it sound like it's brand new. A lot of games got next-gen update patches. Bloodborne was an exclusive game that never got one. I think that's strange. Ron Schlesser says original IP can sell if done right. Look at Tunic and Vampire Survivors. Right. Put the effort in. Make a game, sell a game, Ron, right? More Alien. Personally, I don't think Ubisoft will be wasting their time and money by doing a remake. Prince of Persia: A Sands of Time. Let's see what else you guys. It does run 60, Travis. Oh, what game does? Dead Space remake was last year. It only took them 2.5 years to remake Dead Space. That's not a full game. Make a remake or sell a remake? 30 hates covers. Got it. What do you mean? Oh, covers. Like music? I don't hate covers. What I'm saying is that's the closest I'll take as a remake because it's not coming. That's like Elton John. Okay, I'm just picking Elton John, right? Elton John, because he's well known, he takes all his music and redoes it. He's not rewriting new music. He's just changing the beats from piano to trumpet to guitar, right? Same song, same thing, just now it's in trumpet. Now it's in guitar. It's like, bro, it's the same stuff. Stop it. Stop it. Make new stuff. Thank you, Eclipse. Right. His point exactly. Most games nowadays take 5 to 7 years to make. They don't want to put that time in. They'll take they'll take the 1.5 to 2 years to do a remake, a remaster, so they can get that money. And hell, they don't even do it themselves. They give it to they port it out to somebody else to do it. Look what Grand Theft Auto did, right? That disaster they did, the trilogy they put out. Was that 2 years ago? Should remakes be priced differently from $70 games? Yes. Yes, they should. So a remake of Final Fantasy VII is okay, because I remember they said they added some stories and weren't the original, and the gameplay is a bit different. Is it a bit different, or is it completely different, Altern? Again, did they make a new game, or did they add stuff like George Lucas did for Star Wars? Is Star Wars a completely different movie? Or did he add Han shot first and added Jabba where Han walks over him and then added a couple TIE fighters into the thing? Is it adding to it, or is it redoing it? Well, the conversation, Water, is remasters and remakes. Okay? A remake is based off of something that was already done. And then they change things for modern audiences. A remake used to mean that when the game was released, the vision was greater than the graphical capabilities. So the remake is to give it the game a better overhaul vision, and now it's for whatever. So, for your Final Fantasy thing, where they made an action adventure instead, or a adventure like a hack and slash instead of the turn-based. So, if I play, would it be considered a remake if I take the exact game of? I'm trying to think of a really massive game that's all in first person. They make a game that's all in first person. What's a game that's all in first person? Actually, up here, God of War. God of War is all in third person. But now they remake it. Okay, they remake it, but now it's all in first person. Right? Did they change the game completely? Is that alternating enough because it was a third person game to a first person game? Uncharted, third person game, now it's a first person game. Would that change it and be reclassified? Oh, it's completely different. Yeah, but cool Bahama guy, right? You're taking, I don't know if you were here when I was reading the story. The guy talking about it in the thing is about nostalgia, right? So you're saying exactly what he said. Nostalgia is what brings you back to play those games, right? So you're saying you can't be completely against remakes because the remake comes out along for Uncharted 1, 2, or 3. You're all over it. Why? Because of nostalgia. This is why they make the remakes and remasters. Not because they put the effort in to make it the greatest game or brand new game. It's because it's nostalgic. And you're going to buy it because you have this memory of, oh man, those games were awesome. And I get where you're coming from because I've said this on my stream, and I know you weren't here when I said it because it's months ago and you're new here, okay? But Red Dead Redemption would be that game that I'm like, I think I would take a remake because Red Dead Redemption 2 is so vastly superior than Red Dead 1 because I love it. Because I love Red Dead Redemption. If they redid it, I would be like, maybe. That's because of the nostalgia, though. All these remakes, can't even get a Days Gone sequel. But, Jason, this is what I'm talking about. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a Days Gone remaster? Or would you rather have a Days Gone sequel? Right? And this is where the conversation actually should be. Would you rather have something new of a franchise that you like, or this same old of the stuff you liked, but resold to you in a updated form? And it's not going to be updated like it is, like the graphics are going to be exactly what it is today, because they don't do that. Right? They just tweak it a little bit. They're just taking that paintbrush and going over the stuff that's already there. It's like copying someone else's work. It's tracing it. Waterbear says, if there's a mod that makes Baldur's Gate 3 real-time action, please send it to me. The question should be, is the remake directed to new consumers or reselling to old consumers for nostalgia and maybe a few new ones? It's both. It's both. It's mostly towards old customers that have the nostalgia of they played this old game, they thought it was awesome, it was a very well done game, and they remake it. And then new people that can't ever play those old games because maybe they weren't born yet, maybe they don't own that console yet, and then they can also purchase it. Look, from a business standpoint, it's very smart for them to do remakes and remasters because less effort, better outcome, right? Do you take a brand new game and put it out there for $300 million and see if it's going to sell? $150 million to see if it's going to sell, like Immortals of Avium? Or do you take a game that people that you already know has a fan base and then redo it, remake it, remaster it, and then sell it to the old people for nostalgia and new people because they've never played it before? I don't have an issue with remake remasters besides the number of them. Too many. Well, if somebody... There's no difference, though, Jones. If one BR takes off, a bunch of people make BRs. If a MOBA takes off, a bunch of people make MOBAs. If a extraction shooter takes off, everyone makes extraction shooters. So if a remake takes off, everyone's making remakes and remasters. That's the business. Chris says, I go for Days Gone sequel rather than a remake or remaster. Freaking, I'm playing the game 3 times, and I love both the gameplay, story, and I wish it had a sequel. But that's what I'm saying. Right? What do you think you get more of? What do you think it's logically to get first? A Days Gone remaster or Days Gone sequel? Which one do you think's happening first? Because when that game came out, a lot of people gave it shit, right? A lot of people gave it shit. But if they did a remaster and then it sold really well, it'd be like, well, look, people are interested in it. Maybe we'll make a sequel now. Companies have to have something in the pipeline. If they know that you won't have something soon, then they'll just use a remake or remaster to fill in the revenue gap that they would have. It's just business. Yeah, absolutely. I understand why they do it. Let's see here. I mean, it's a rumor that Fallout 3 remake comes out. I'd play it, especially at the day one on Game Pass. Well, now you're throwing a different wrench into the situation, right, Kylo? If they do remakes and remasters and throw them on a service like a PlayStation Plus, a Game Pass, is it as bad as selling that game at full price? Right? If they're just throwing them on the service and it's there, is that as bad as remaking, remastering, and putting it out there for $60, $70? Vandal says Xbox did it perfectly. Everyone wanting to remake a trilogy, and they dropped a brand new prequel. Perfection. Days Gone Remastered is so pointless if the PlayStation 4 version is playable on the PlayStation 5. Wasn't The Last of Us playable on the PlayStation 5 for the first one? Or am I mistaken by that? I believe everyone, Guy79 says, I believe everyone is here has a certain game that would also be hesitant to buy a remake or remaster. Oh, absolutely. And that's the nostalgia factor kicking in. You're absolutely right. There is a game there that you would go, you know what? I would get that. Perfect example. What just came out a couple of months ago, okay? Didn't do very well. But what came out that everyone was so excited to hear about when they announced it a couple months ago, and it was coming out like just a couple weeks. Okay? Battlefront 2 Classic Collection. Okay? That was nostalgia ranked up. Everyone remembers that when they played it on the PlayStation back in the day, and they're like, oh my god, Battlefront 2 was so good. Right? So much better than the EA one, right? And then they came out with the remaster remake, and it was a pile of horse shit. Okay? It was a pile of horse shit until they fixed it, and they're still fixing it. They capitalized on the they capitalized on the nostalgia. Right, just for them to fuck it up. Right, I'll turn. Right, Dolphin. Took your money and laughed it at the bank. Perfect example of minimal viable product. How can someone be so incompetent and then even fail to make a remaster of a PlayStation 2 game that was perfect? All they had to do was just take exactly what was there and just update the graphics. That's all they had to do. No. They're like, hold my beer. Let's make it worse than it was. Right? And at one point, they were taking down stuff off the internet so you couldn't buy the older version. They're like, you only could buy this. Right? It's so frustrating at times. But see, Travis, I don't know if it's sabotage to make it look better, because EA's Battlefront 2, the game itself is really good. It was the monetization and the microtransactions behind it that fucked that game up. But remember, that game sold 12 to 15 million copies. Sold 12 to 15 million copies when it launched. EA didn't give a shit. Okay? There's companies that would sell their they would sell the next 3 games away to another company if they could make a game that sells 15 million copies. Kylo says, all this remaster talk, but we have a Game 7 tonight to decide the Stanley Cup winner. That's gonna be good. I haven't watched any of it, but obviously the Florida team's in there. Florida Panthers are there. My dad said it a couple weeks ago or last week. They were up 2-0, 2-0, 3-0. I think the Panthers were up. He goes, it's gonna go 7 games, right? He's like, it's gonna go 7 games because that's what sells. And I went, a part of me in the back of my head was like, a little conspiracy. You know what I mean? Like, think about it as a business. Okay, what would you rather have? A 4-game sweep? You miss out on all the ads, right? All the commercials, all the concessions, all the tickets, right? You miss on all of that. So what happens? Well, you make it go 7 games. Okay. Now to think that though, to make, well, how do they make it go 7 games? Right? The Celtics didn't agree with that, and they lost a shit ton of money though, Eclipse. That's what I'm saying. From a business standpoint, the league lost a shit ton of money. If a series can go farther, okay, it would make them a shit ton more money. Sometimes it doesn't go that way, right? I didn't watch the NBA. True that, but then you have the Celtics legit losing the purpose on Game 4. Oh, did they? Did they lose Game 4 so they can go back home to win? I guess we'll see tonight. I stopped caring about sports, so. I mean, obviously, as a Florida guy, I would like to see Florida win, but you know, doesn't matter. I don't lose sleep if they win or lose. So, what's up, Drummond? All right. Let's go from talking about digital remasters and remakes to UK. Next topic we're going to talk about is UK retailer game will reportedly stop selling physical games in stores. You guys like what I do here? We have conversations. We talk about articles, talk about them with you guys with live chat. I give you my thoughts and opinions on the article live right here, Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right, so UK retailer game will reportedly stop selling physical games in store. Update, game denies the claims, telling VGC this reporting is categorically not true. Okay, so it says UK retailer game will soon stop physical games in store. It's been claimed. According to its reports, okay, Jaffinity Esports source says that the retail chain plans to stop selling boxed software in its bricks and mortar shops. Instead, players will also only be able to buy hardware and physical software by pre-ordering at the store or buying from the game's website, where they can also have them shipped to their home in the nearest game store. Okay. This is the latest update here as of 1:45 on June 24th, so they're a little ahead of us. So it says a spokesperson for Game has denied the report, telling that VGC has this reporting categorically not true. It says Game continues to support the physical game market, offering a wide range of physical games, hardware, software, accessory, and digital products in store and online, they added. Currently, a larger part of physical game stores is taken up by gaming merchandise and non-gaming stores, including Lego, Barbie, and Funko Pops. Now, obviously, we know that this is somewhat true. Now, I'm not in the UK. You guys over there can tell us if this chain has less physical games in there. I can tell you by me, GameStop and Target, Walmart, and Best Buy, they have less games. This is facts, right? You go down the sections. Remember the aisles? There used to be aisles and aisles back when we were younger. Now you have maybe two stanchions sections. You know what I mean? Whatever, how big they are, maybe like 4.5 feet, 6 feet, maybe. So you have like maybe 10 feet to 12 feet worth of where they put the actual like games on there. And then you look, and a lot of them are empty. Lots of them are empty. Like you just see vast empty stuff going on. And then you'll see the stuff that's there. It'll be just like the cards, right? Like for instance, Call of Duty, you buy digital, right? It's just a card that you pick up, or Minecraft or whatever. So there is less physical. Now, for them to say that it's not true, that might be, but to deny that there's less games in there would be silly, right? I don't think they've done that. But it says in reports that it's no longer selling physical games is true. This would be the latest setback for games, in which has reported in April was cutting the unspecific number of jobs. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a GameStop or whatever they have, mom and pop shop. You walk in, you're like, hey, do you have this game? They're like, no, we don't have that game, but I can order it for you. And they go online. I'm like, no, it's good. I can order it myself. Like, I don't need to go through you to get the game digitally, okay? Because there's no physical copy anymore. This is a problem that's happening, right? And even when you do get the physical copy, you actually still don't own the game. And it's like we talk about this, I don't know, like 4 times a year easily, okay? So it says, speaking to Eurogamer at the time, multiple employees said that workers have been told to expect redundancies as the company has moving most non-managers to 0 hours contract. Okay, in January, Game confirmed plans to stop buying and selling pre-owned games, with the trade-in in service ending on February 16th. Okay, earlier this month was also confirmed that it was also be ending the Game Reward and Game Elite Reward scheme soon. And players will no longer be able to earn reward points from July 15th and will no longer be able to redeem their existing balance after July 31st. If players still have existing balances after this date, it'll be removed and they will have to effectively lose that money. So Games UK retail business are spread over 320 standalone stores and concessions with the Sports Direct house of Fraser. According to Fraser's Group, it was acquired the company back for $52 million in 2019. So as you can see, there is things happening where they're stopping rewards, they're stopping physical game sales in certain chains. Now, in this one retailer, they say, well, it's not happening. These are untrue. Yet, right? Yet. So let's have a conversation. You know, what does this mean for games in general, for people that, obviously, if you're a PC gamer, right, you really don't care because you've been buying digital games for well over a decade now, okay, through Steam, okay? Even back then, remember Babbage's and Electronic Boutique and stuff, if you're in the States, okay? You would go there and they would actually have a PC section, right? You could buy the physical box. You could still go to Walmart and buy a World of Warcraft expansion and whatnot. But PCs are pretty much obsolete as far as buying the PC gaming market, right? But now consoles are at this point now where they're coming to the point where, yeah, they can still buy physical discs, but most of the people, right, are buying digitally, or they're getting it because of day one, pre-orders and whatnot. They want to play that game, and this is what pre-orders are doing, right? Because the game comes out on Tuesday, a lot of companies sometimes can't ship it out on time. You do get it, but there are times where people like order it from Amazon, it doesn't come in time or whatnot. Or if you didn't pre-order it from your store, people don't want to leave at a midnight release and pick up the game and then come back and play it. Those are the days. Now, if you pre-order, you can get it 5 days early. You can start downloading it now, right? You can start downloading now. So it's convenience factor. You're paying for the convenience factor. You're paying $70 for non-physical, non-copy, no physical disc, no manual, no plastic box, no artwork on the box, nothing. You're just getting a digital copy sent to you, and you can pre-download it. So when it comes out on that Tuesday or Thursday or Friday, boom, you can hit start and you can just start playing the game. And that's the frog in the pot slowly getting boiled, because the more that you buy digital, that sends the sensory, right? Like if I put my hand on the stove, right, my brain goes, your hand's on the stove, that stove is on, we're being burned, okay? That's what's happening now. So when we purchase a digital game, it sends the sensory to the brain of the business of Xbox, PlayStation, EA, Activision. They're like, oh, well, they purchased a digital copy. That's more people that want a digital copy than physical copies, so let's not make physical copies. If you want physical copies to come back, obviously, you would have to stop buying digital copies. Look at what they did with Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 was only digital. You only could choose digital. And then only, 7 months after the fact that it came out? When did that come out? 9 months? 10 months ago? Okay. Almost a year later, they announced that they're going to come with a physical copy of Alan Wake 2, and now you have to purchase it again, right? Which is just so scummy, okay? Like, it's just so scummy, right? Say what you want about how good the game is, the business practice of only selling digital, and then coming out later by going, well, the people that liked the game and bought the digital copy, now they can buy it physically. Now they can own 2 copies of a game they don't own, right? Which is just so ridiculous. So I like physical copies. Obviously, as a content creator, it's hypocritical for me to say, go buy a physical copy, and yet I'm getting digital copies because that's the business that I'm in, okay? When I cover a game that I like, I got to play it on day one. I got to get the digital copy, okay? But if I wasn't streaming, if this wasn't my business, if this wasn't the thing, I would only buy what Jason's saying in chat, okay? He says, I'll buy physical to the end. I would only buy physical discs because I love physical. But at the same time, regardless if you buy physical or digital, you still don't own it. But at least with the physical, I can still take that Battleborn disc and use it as a Frisbee toaster, put it on the back of the wall there. We could put it right up there. You know what I should do? I should put it right up there. I should put it up there. Maybe that's where it'll be the next time I go live. Okay. I love physical media, right? I went to a local comic book store recently, okay? And they had a whole section for like vinyl records, right? I don't have a vinyl record, but I still think it's cool that you can buy the record, right? They also had a small section of video games, and you can go buy the older video games. And there's something about owning something, right? And I get people like the digital, it's more convenient and whatnot, but there's going to be a time where something happens and you lose everything. And at that point, you'll look at yourself and go, not a big deal, or you're going to lose your shit, okay? And that's just the way it is. So with these retailers getting rid of physical copies, it is a little, when's the last time you guys stepped into a GameStop or stepped into your local game shop to go pick up a game? And if you were there, did you notice that there was less games and more Funko Pops, more T-shirts, more stickers, more controllers, more action figures, right? It's almost like it's a toy store now and less of a actual video game store, right? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think that even though these retailers said it's not going to happen, or at least in their stores it's not going to happen, how fast do you think this will change where physical copies are less and less and less? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, please make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Go on, Sin. Yeah, it's hot out. At least in Florida, it's hot out. This morning, it was like, it felt like I walked into a sauna. Chris Coleman says, I think the digital data is just skewed because the digital-only items get counted as the same as full games. We can never get the data for only games that are available in physical and digital. Right, well, they don't share those numbers, but, Chris, we can use our eyes, right? Like, if you go to a Target or Walmart, I don't know where you live in the world, but when you go in there, there's less physical games. Like, physically. Like, you can see there's less and less physical copies of games in stores, which means more people are buying digital games. You could frame it and then put it in useless underneath the plaque. Maybe, Dolphin. Maybe I'll do that. A lot of physical game discs don't even have the full game on it. Right. Right. We talk about that all the time. You don't even own the game anymore. I have a couple of games that I own that do nothing. You could put it in the thing, and you don't have access to it. Even if it has the game on it, it has a code to activate to the servers, but they shut the servers down, so you can't play the game. Orcat's Den says, 30, how do you feel about the GOG digital but no DRM, and once the files are on the computer, they are yours? That's fine. If I can buy a game, and I could take that copy of a game and then burn it on a disc or a thumb drive or whatever else, it's mine, meaning they can never shut it down, meaning if they shut the servers down, I can still play the game. But if it's an online game, you still don't own it, right? I'm all for owning the stuff that you purchased. If I purchase something, okay, then I own that thing. But we watched the video from Kingard, right? And he went through each of the things for Nintendo, Sony, PlayStation, Steam. And within those ecosystems, you don't own anything that they have. And within the games themselves, they also say you don't own them. After the crap at PSN, I went to pre-order my my games physical, and yes, as much as less than 3 months ago. I have a question. The new Star Wars game is coming out, Outlaws. Can you buy a physical copy of that game? Can you buy a physical copy of Outlaws? Or is it only digital? Sarge says, not to mention that the companies can lie all day about the sales because there's no way for us to count the sales anymore. It's just a number in the report that they write or they wrote. The closest we got was from Insomniac League, which showed a 50-50 digital physical sold. Sometimes physicals are sold more. But that leak, wasn't that from Europe? Chris? Or am I thinking of a different one? Vandal says, once again, gamers, write your legislators. We need laws passed to protect digital media. Kyle says, me the last weekend, we only secondhand games, though. It sells everything, though, and movies and toys and music, equipment, and of course, games. Robert Jones says, most GOG games are yours. Carter House says, I just bought the physical copy of Elden Ring. I'm not sure what I'm getting yet. It arrives today. People don't just use retail stores to buy physical. Amazon sells a ton of games, but doesn't have physical store to walk in. GameStop is trying to get people to buy physical games. Yeah, but a lot of the games also on Amazon are also just send you a code, right? There are physical games. And there's still physical games, Holman. There's still physical games that you get. Like, for instance, I bought Sarge the Baldur's Gate 3 physical copy. And on the physical copy, it comes with a disc, okay? But he doesn't have a disc drive. It also comes with the code for him to purchase or to put that in so he can download the game, okay? Sometimes there's physical disc, but the disc still doesn't mean anything, right? The game itself is not even on the disc anymore. So you're buying physical, but it's still digital. According to Ubisoft, yes, you can. Insomniac Leaks had the data for world sales on their titles. Oh, that other... Yeah. I remember. The whole list of all the games. Yes, I remember that now. That's right. He has it. He's never played it yet. But he owns it. The one of the games that you actually own. Larian Studios could close down and Baldur's Gate, and he would not be able to play like co-op, but he could still play the game. What's going on, Arrakis? Let me see if I can find it. Do we have that list? That leaked thing? I know we had it before in our Discord. Do we know what it was called? Do you remember what it was from? Look up, does it play? Most games, like 90% of the game's content and data on the disc for PlayStation, at least. The idea that games are just keys with no data was pushed because of Xbox focus on smart delivery. Yeah, but I'm not talking about Xbox though, Chris. I'm talking about the industry wide. This is not a PlayStation Xbox thing. This is an industry wide thing. Last year in October, there was an article. Digital game purchases account for 70% of all game sales in 2022, according to a Newzoo report. The data anecdotally plays out in desert Best Buy gaming section around the country. It feel more likely ghost town, right? 70% in this one article. This thing only goes up to 2018. Okay. This only goes up to 2018. And this is physical sales. Distribution of computer and video game sales in the United States from 2009 to 2018 by delivery format. Okay. This is physical. This is digital. Okay. And this is 2018. Since then, it's gotten even smaller because the industry chooses to sell less games and make less physical copies. The day the Division 2 starts the new battle pass, make the new character shit. I got it deleted and clan and remove the game from my hard drive. Wait, the day Division 2 starts the new battle pass, make a new character. Shit. I get on, delete the clan, and remove. Did you delete the clan, Sarge? Well, don't delete the clan. Just hand over the to somebody else. Don't delete the clan. Sarge is going off the deep end. He's like, I'm burning the whole thing down. Chris Coleman says Nintendo games have the data on the card. Most PlayStation games have the data on the disc. PlayStation has 100 gigabyte disc. Xbox 50 gigabyte. Xbox went to smart delivery on digital. Xbox have data and not the X. Again, Chris, you're making a specifically the industry itself is going digital. If that wasn't true, then why would PlayStation have a discless PlayStation? Right? If that wasn't true, then why would Xbox not make a discless Xbox Series X now? Right? The industry itself dictates what people are going for, and more people are buying digital than physical. Not saying that no one buys physical. Physical will always be around. Okay? more people buy digital, hence why there's no discs. See, in my circle, in my channel here, okay, you can shit talk any side that you want. I don't give a shit. I'm not a fanboy of one side or the other. We talk about the industry as a whole, and the industry, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, they all work together. As much as everyone thinks they're against each other, they all work together because they are the key. They are the foundation of what the industry goes on. So if they say we're doing this, that's what happens in the industry. If they say we're all going handheld, that's what they're going. If they say that we're all going digital, that's what's happening. Doesn't sound like he's shit-talking. I didn't say he was shit-talking. What I'm saying is myself don't shit-talk one side or the other. We're talking about the industry as a whole. I spread my peanut butter evenly across the industry. COVID probably helped play into the move for physical to digital as well. Oh, for sure. Well, no one wanted to leave the house. We weren't allowed to leave the house. But remember, GameStop stayed open because they were an essential. They were essential. They stayed open because it was essential business. It was them in hospitals. Now, this stat, obviously, everything that's digital, if it's game purchased or microtransaction or DLC or whatever, but this says, this is from Tweaktown. It says digital made up 95% of total global gaming revenues in 2023, representing 174 billion in full game purchase and in-game spending across all platforms. Okay. 95% of total global gaming revenue came from digital. Now, obviously, if you buy physical and then they have an online store within the game, then you have to buy it digitally, right? So even buying physical, you're still going to get something digital, okay? And then if you buy digital, obviously it's digital makes more digital, okay? So even if you get Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, okay, and you play a game on there, and then you buy an expansion pack or you buy a microtransaction or something, that's also digital. You say the industry, but who is controlling the leading physical and digital sales are similar to the DLC, and digital only skews that data. Nintendo and PlayStation still do physical data. 90% data is on disc. What do you mean who controls or who's leading it? Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox, and whoever else is in the industry. They decide what is going to go digital, what's going to go, right? You understand Nintendo still sells physical, and they also sell a lot on digital, right? They don't share their numbers, but there's a whole section on the Nintendo Switch that people just buy digital games. It's a huge market. Again, I'm not saying physical copies are going bye-bye. What I'm saying is they're getting less and less. Xbox still has physical copies. You can still buy physical copies. If the company decides, if EA decides that none of their games are going to be physical discs anymore, okay, then Target doesn't decide that. Best Buy doesn't decide that. GameStop doesn't decide that. EA decides that. They're like, yeah, you know what? Our sales, it's not even worth putting a disc, shipping the discs anymore to places. We're just going to stop selling them, right? And then we're just going to sell digital. The companies decide that. The industry decides that. Exactly, Argus. The industry is 100% moving towards digital only. It costs companies less money. Nintendo's identity revolves around physical, though? The device does. You want to know how many games my son has on his Switch? How many physical games does he have? And then how many digital games he has? Got quite a bit of digital. Or, I'm sorry, physical. Did he have like 20, 22 games? Something like that? Okay. Got about twice that of digital. Like, I think you're getting confused, House, right? Obviously, Nintendo is known for the Switch and their console, but there's a shit ton of people that buy digital games on all these platforms. Yeah, but you guys, like, Rose, obviously you're talking specifically for yourself, right? Nintendo people love game cartridges. Are you planting a flag for adults, right? Yeah. Nintendo people that are older love physical media. Nintendo fans of new don't give a shit about physical or digital. They just play what they want, where they want. If it's on a cell phone, a smart watch, a refrigerator. My problem with digital is that the companies save money but don't pass the savings to the consumers. Digital games should be cheaper, not more expensive. $70 is a scam. That's right, Vandal. There you go. Cisco says, what's good? Talking Switch? I have all digital games. Right? You guys are arguing a point of, no, physical games are not going. My whole conversation is that they're getting less and less. And when you go to Target, when you go to Walmart, when you go to Best Buy, when you go to GameStop, there's less games. Less games. There's less used games when you go to GameStop. Okay? There's less physical games. This is not saying that people don't buy still physical games. There's just less physical games. Physical media, so many great collections, obscure stuff on it. But if they're so cute the way they fit into the palm of your hand, sure. What do you think their the next cartridge is going to be? Do you think they're sticking with the cartridge? Do you think Nintendo's going to stick with the small cartridge, or do you think they're going to go some other format now? I think they'll stick with it. Switch to all digital? No, I don't think they'll all go all digital. If they go all digital, you'll get people revolt around it because they can't buy a physical game. If they keep it where it's physical still, right? I mean, what does this cost? What does this piece of plastic cost? The Xbox taught me that more bang for my buck with the combination of console sharing with digital games. So now I just do all digital. There you go. The UK might be buying a lot of discs right now, but it was also change in time. The US is heavily leaning digital now, and they'll continue to push towards that future. Sure. because they make more money off of the digital goods than they do the physical goods. Right? Me and Sarge talking about this. Right? They're no longer paying for the majority of their games where they have to pay for gas, shipping, stock shelf, like space. Right? They don't have to do any of that anymore. Right? They're making more per price per game, and then they're making more on top of that because now they're cutting out the middleman. It goes directly to digital. They make all that extra money. Right? Since when does Nintendo have any problem giving people the finger? They've never had a problem giving the finger. They've always stayed strong and tried and true to their prices. They changed all the time. They go from cartridge to mini disc. Fucking GameCube. Right? They're like, no, we can't make it a regular standard disc. We got to make it a mini disc. Vandal says the digital versus physical war is over. Us lazy folks won. More time for me to see my girlfriend naked. Yay me. FOMO as well. Not as many midnight releases. So if you want to play right at release, you got to go digital and wait a few days for delivery or physical. On top of that, Brain, they make you do the 3-day early access, right? 3-day early access. You pay extra money for that. You get it 3-day early access, and you can download it 3 days earlier before it even comes down to you early to get it. So technically, you could download it on Saturday, it comes out on Tuesday, and then it comes out for everybody else on the following Friday. Can porn stars not have boyfriends and girlfriends? I'm confused, Travis. By girlfriend, do you mean porn star? Does that mean I'm confused? It means Rosie and her 5 sisters. What about if his actual girlfriend's a porn star, though? What's the biggest game that was sold only digital games and sell the most have a physical and digital, besides Baldur's Gate 3, which is mainly PC? It's the end of DC and items and digitally only messing up the data. What is the biggest game that was sold only digital? Only digital. I would have to... I mean, I don't think it's only about an only digital thing right now, right? They're slowly... I mean, Alan Wake was not the biggest, but it's the most games they've ever sold, right? It was the biggest IP they ever sold, and that was only digital. And now they're selling a physical copy after the fact, right? So that company, and pardon, I forget what the company is, okay? But they physically sold digital only and made their most sales they've ever had, ever, of any of their games. And now they're making a physical copy. Minecraft, he says Minecraft. There you go. Yeah, but Fortnite's free, right, Ron? So I don't know if that would count. Fortnite's free. I just always put her Pamela Henderson. Yeah, see, they don't. I looked up Minecraft. They have over 300 million copies across all platforms, but we don't know what's digital, what's physical. Like, to ask a question like that, how would we know when companies don't share their data? Right? The leaked information for Sony is not. It's an outlier, not the rule. Alan Wake 2 didn't make its money back yet, or maybe now they did. My point is that games have physical and digital are bigger sellers. Digital only doesn't sell as much when they don't have physical. Well, your point is discounted right there, because Alan Wake 2 has sold more games for the company than they've ever sold before. Regardless if they made their money back or yet, I have no idea. But they've said that Alan Wake 2 was the most copies sold than they've ever sold for any of their games, which is all digital. So when they were physical before, they sold less than what they sold all digital. Right? And we don't know the numbers because no one shares their numbers. And then you have other things that come into effect, right? Because if you're talking about just Xbox now, 14 million people played Starfield. We know that 2 million and 1 million, 2 million on PC and 1 million on Xbox bought, right? But we don't know what the rest of the 11 million people, if they purchased or if they downloaded. We don't know. We only know about the people that were reported the very early access of it because they had to pay $100 for it. Alan Wake 2 sold more. But, Chris, it was all digital. I don't care if it was multi-plat or not. What I'm saying is that you're saying that they would sell more copies if it was physical and digital. I'm telling you that this one company, you said bring up an example. I'm giving you an example. Alan Wake 2 sold more copies than they've ever sold before for the company, and it was all digital. I mean, I gave you an example. I don't know if it's the biggest example, but it's an example that the company sold more copies than they've ever sold before. I'm too lazy to change the disc. I just picture when you say that, when you said that, Ron, I just pictured Wall-E and like the people on the spaceship. Mike, what do you think about the people review bombing Elden Ring on Steam? I think it's ridiculous that people bought the game and they're like, it's too hard, so they're upset about the difficulty ranking of it. And I'm like, I'm not getting it because I know that it's not my type of game, but yet I think people get like swooped up in the like a wave of hype that comes, and they think they can swim against the wave, but they get picked up by the wave, right? And they buy the game, okay? They buy the game, and yet they don't like the game. It's like, well, then why did you buy it? No physical Pal World. There you go. That sold what, 20, 22, 25 million copies? But it skews the number though, Jones, because we don't know how many people played it on Game Pass, right? Those don't count as sales. Any big PC game is digital only, for the most part. I mean, I have a question. Is Destiny physical or digital? Even if you buy the disc just accesses the server. It's not on the actual disc. How many people bought digital, physical for Hogwarts? I don't know if they don't actually tell you the sales. We know the total number. Two. Destiny 2, sorry. Destiny 1 was off physical, like you can play it. Like that's on the disc. I don't know. That's my question, Travis. Live service doesn't matter because physical or digital? Well, it does matter because it's a game that you're playing. And if you buy the disc, is it on the disc? Or is it just digital? Is the disc just a key to get you access, or is the actual game on the disc? That's my question. Let's see here. I mean, what do we get? It's a free to play game. I can't bring up free to play games because you're not purchasing it. There's a lot of mobile games that are free to play. Well, D2's original disc doesn't... You can't use D2's original disc. It doesn't work. Right? Yeah, you can't play the Red War. I only buy discs if the day comes, there's only digital. I'll take my backlog. Even going back as far as PlayStation 1. Well, we've had these conversations before, ISG, where we talk about how none of us, older gamers, right? I've been gaming since I was 3. I'm 46, okay? I have enough games where I don't have to ever buy another game again. Ever. I have more games than I can play. I don't have to buy something new or play something new. I can literally just play the old games that I have, and I would be content. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got like 10, 12 different systems. All right, let's go over to... I kind of want to watch this video instead of reading the article for Dune Awakening. Let me see what they have here.
Joel, I would love to...
Okay, this is a 5-minute video. They have a bunch of different videos. All right, this is a 5-minute video from Funcom's YouTube channel. Okay, this is Dune Awakening. They have a bigger chunk. Maybe we'll watch other chunks of it as well. But this is about I believe this is about the Overland. How you're going to get from one server to the next. Okay, so let's listen to this. Volume up.
Discuss a bit of a more technical aspect, of course. Dune Awakening, it's a survival game, it's an MMO. Two different game types, which I'm sure on the back and front end have to be treated differently. How does the player experience those different aspects from a server infrastructure point of view?
Yeah, so a lot of survival games are either you have solo games like Subnautica, you have these like, you know, local server 8-player sort of Valheim style games. Then you have larger single server like Conan Exiles or Ark. You have large sort of players on a single map. And then with Dune, what we're trying to do is have these multiple maps where you can play with many, many hundreds of people.
Oh, and by the way, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Dune Awakening is a what if of Dune. It's not the actual Dune. So it's Atreides basically is having a dream, and you're in this what if type of scenario that you are a character within the world of his dream.
Right, so you'll be playing with lots of other players, right? So it is a large world to explore and share with others.
Can I assume I am in a server with many, many people. Can I move between servers, or can I group up with people on different servers? Is that possible?
Yeah, so when players start to play Dune Awakening, they choose a world. And that world allows them to...
All right, hold on a second. Okay, so social hub, hundreds of players, 40 players each, social hub. Okay, so there's different... Okay.
You know, it's almost like choosing a server in an MMORPG, but it's a large infrastructure of connected servers, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the idea is that as a player, you choose, you join, you start in a map, and from there your experience should be relatively seamless in terms of how you explore and feel the world. The difference between the reason we call it a survival MMO as opposed to just a survival game is that most survival games do one map, one server, but we have multiple connected servers running in a single world.
Would you call them tiles?
So this is kind of where we come from, and it also allows us to have a lot more players in this structure.
So how many people am I playing with on like one server, or rather even, can I play with people from other servers? Can I group up with them? Can I be in a guild with them?
Absolutely, you can be in a guild with people across servers. There's no problem there. Within your world, you can join a guild with anybody, right? When you join the game, you start in a server which is a Hager Basin, right? We call it the Hager Basin. The Hager Basin is the starting server. It's a server with a minimum of 40 other players. It's a place where you can build, craft, survive, progress. If you want to play specifically with friends, you want to join the same version of Hager Basin, because Hager Basin can have multiple versions. And then from there, you move outwards.
I can select which Hager Basin I'm starting with. So like if we start in the game at the same time, I can make sure that we're spawning in the same.
Not only that, our server browser also tells you where your friends are playing.
Okay, perfect.
So it tells you exactly who's on which server, so which dimension.
Can I get on that server? Okay, so if I'm on one server and Brain's on the other server, can I get in that server, or do I have to wait because I'm in a queue? You know what I mean?
Which areas, so you'll know.
Okay, so we have different areas, different servers, different maps on said servers. How do I traverse between maps?
So once you're ready to leave the Hager Basin, you craft yourself an ornithopter, for example, and you fly out into what's called the Overland Map. And the Overland Map is a server, again, running, that you can meet hundreds of other players on, and allows you to see all the locations in the world. So you physically...
So hold up. So you're in the tutorial area. That's what it is, the Haga Basin. Okay, you're in the tutorial area. You're in the beginning stages of that first. And then you build yourself a vehicle, and then you take that and you start flying through the air, and basically you get to fly over all the other servers. So is it a load screen, or do you have control?
Fly between locations on the Overland Map.
Now you said my homies can come and pick me up. If you're a good homie and you don't want to put me in a dangerous spot, where do you bring me early on? Where can I meet other people? Where can I meet up with my guildmates even?
Yeah, so once you've sort of explored the Hager Basin and you leave with your friends, you go out into what we call the Overland Map. And in the Overland Map, you have an overview of the entire world, and you can sort of see like the different maps that you have as an option. And one of those options are the social hubs, Harco Village and Arrakis, which are differently themed based on the different factions in the game, obviously, right? So you can go and visit Harco Village. It's a safe space. It's kept...
This sounds... Okay. In the very beginning when we started talking about this game, I said it gave me good vibes about like the Star Wars Galaxies back in the day. This is exactly what it sounds like they're doing as far as traveling from one base station to the next within the thing. It'll be interesting to see how it actually is implemented.
Fairly okay, peaceful by the Canley piece. And in there, there's bars to visit, vendors to visit. There's the chome exchanges there. And of course you and your friends can go dancing if you want in the clubs.
Okay, did not expect that to be part of the game, but you know, you gotta.
If I go to a club to dance with my friends, is there a buff? In Star Wars Galaxies, and again, I bring this up because I'm consistent on my views here, right? In a game where you make stuff up like this, where I can go into a place in Star Wars Galaxies, you could make drinks for people that gave them buffs, or you could play music or dance for people, and then that also gave them buffs. So they would sort of like in games now that if you go to the bed and rest, it gives you a resting buff, right? There's a point to have the bed. There's a point to have the bar. There's a point to have a doctor. If there's a point to have the actual club and you dance or whatever while you're dancing, and all of a sudden you're there for like 2 minutes, and all of a sudden it gives you this buff, cool. If it's just to go there as like a social thing, I mean, fun for a few, but not practical for actual gaming.
Relax every once in a while as well. Now, once I'm done dancing and I slept off my probably hangover, I want to get out into the action. Where am I going?
So then you'll go back to the Overland
The action's at the club. Come on.
Map and you'll fly to the deep desert. The deep desert is this massive area. It's 500 kilometers squared.
500 kilometers squared. That's bigger. What? Wait a minute. What? Someone quick, look it up because I don't want to end the video. Someone look up what Skyrim or some big game out there, what the square kilometers are for the biggest maps.
For minimum 500 kilometers squared. It's actually a bit larger than that. There's and that's where you can meet hundreds of other players. There is probably going to obviously be a player cap if too many people go there, but you should be able to handle quite a lot of people. And that's a completely seamless set of servers that are all connected together. It's generally a PvP map with a strip of PvE as people enter so that they can be safe when they come into the map and don't get ganked. And then you head out into the desert and you have these adventures where you're harvesting spice. The cool thing about the deep desert, and this is one of the things that I think I've mentioned last time, is kind of unique, is that we have this thing called the Coriolis Storm. And every week the Coriolis Storm wipes the deep desert and resets it with a new landscape and new points of...
That's pretty cool. I know they talked about that earlier, right? In another video. So if I build my house or whatever, or if I build a structure, that structure is going to get buried the next time. So if there's like a hidden cave or system and the sand shift, the place that I found before will be different next week.
Of interest. So it's an infinitely explorable space and a really cool place to hang with your friends.
I do love that. It really sounds like a very unique blend of different elements from different types of games that you combined here together. I'm super interested to see how that all plays out.
All right, there's let me go to their actual page because there was a longer video. But we did, let's see, so we watched that. This is from 3 days ago. This one's the character creator. Let's watch the character creator.
Hello, my name is Nizre Bore, and I'm a producer here at the creative team at Funcom. Today I'll be walking you through the first moments of Dune Awakening, character creation, where we find out who you are and what you look like. Let's take a look. Here we have our character creation screen. Expression and customization is one of our key pillars in Dune Awakening, and that starts here.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it'll be as full of things as Elden Ring. It's a desert. Do you know what I mean? So, like, the desert's going to be pretty desert-y, meaning I don't think you're going to find a lot of things out in that area, but as the weather changes or as the land shift, it'll be interesting to see, like, if 1 week, in my head, is if, let's say there's 4 points of interest on the map, right? 4 points of interest. And then all of a sudden, the following week, the weather comes and shifts, and those 4 points of interest disappear. Does it just move those 4 points of interest somewhere else? Or are they 4 different points of interest? Or all of a sudden, now there's 7 show up. And then, if every week happens, how many times is this happening before it goes back to the other rotation? Or is it always procedurally generated? These are questions I have.
There's a lot of customization options available for you. But if you want a starting off point, or just want to move past the customization and straight into gameplay, you can make use of some of the preset character looks we've got available. If you're like me and like making your own character from scratch, however, then there's plenty of
Robert Jones says, shit, now I have a true nerd question. How do these games keep meters consistent between games? Is it measured in characters' footsteps? I'm assuming it's done on the scale of an actual meter, right? So like if a character's footsteps is whatever length the stride of it is, and then they measured it. So if they say it's 500 kilometers or whatever meters, then I would assume that's what it is, just scaled from real life to in-game.
options for you to play with. You can change your body type and your general body shape, tweaking anything from height to the thickness of your arms or legs to adding freckles or even vitiligo. There's too many small details for me to delve into all of them.
Just Cause had 385 square miles? Jesus.
It's safe to say that if you love sliders, we've got plenty of them.
Is a Skyrim meter a Destiny meter? I would assume so. A meter is a meter.
Apart from being able to tweak the minute details of your nose or your mouth, you can even affect your age. Look at that. Looks great to me. The other classics like hair, beards, and eyebrows all have different choices for you to make or affect. But on top of that, you can also add in tattoos and facial scars.
Seems like a pretty basic,
they even let you choose how
to
faded with age
standards of character creator.
Play around a bit with our makeup options, and soon enough, I think you'll have a character you can enjoy exploring Arrakis with. Now that we've selected our physical appearance, we give our character a name, and we continue, because we're more than just a pretty face. Customization is about more than just how you look. It's about who you are and where you come from.
Have they told you what I am? Then I will sift your words for
Does it matter where we come from? I mean, Disney doesn't care, so I was just wondering if Dune cares.
lies.
Who needs backstory and a foundation?
Let's begin. Where were you born?
Your character's background affects how they get to interact with the people of Arrakis, giving you different dialogue options depending on who you are. For the sake of this video, we'll be choosing the home planet of the Atreides, Caladan.
A world of water. Homeworld of the Atreides.
Next, we determine your caste, where you belong in the strict hierarchies of the Imperium. We'll select Na Familia for now, belonging to the noble caste.
Did you give bad advice? Or make a bad deal? To be close to power is to walk
Don't
the
judge me,
knife's
lady.
edge. You had a mentor in your youth, trained by one of the schools. Who was your mentor?
Unlike the other choices, this gives us a starting ability, something we can use right as we boot into the game. Don't worry, you're not locking yourself into a class or a specific archetype. In Dune Awakening,
No, I want to make sure though. Anybody that says that characters don't need it, that you're shallow if you make a good-looking character, I want to make sure those people never make a good-looking character. Everyone has to submit their character creations. We got to make sure they're all ugly.
we allow you to create your own playstyle. So if you want to combine Mentat abilities with those of the Bene Gesserit, all you need to do is find the right people to train you and choose the loadout that works best for you. For right now, though, we'll choose the Mentat.
Come here. Kneel. Put your hand in the box.
What's in the box? Ah! I'm in Flash Gordon vibes.
I hold at your neck the Gonja Bar, the high-handed enemy. Don't pull away or you will die. Great plots are afoot in the Imperium, and the currents of intrigue run deeply. Arrakis is the key, and the Fremen are missing. You will go to Arrakis as our agent, prisoner. You have one task. Find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper.
Oh, so I'm a prisoner.
When it is done.
Music's good. I like the music.
And with that cryptic message, your journey begins.
The scale of that thing. Look at the ship coming out of that ship. Jesus. There better not be a load screen. All right, the next one we got. Diving into the alternate history. All right, let's listen to this.
Now I have the utmost pleasure of welcoming back Joel for a quick chat. It's great to have you here again.
Thank you very much for inviting me back.
Of course. Obviously, Paul does not exist in this alternate timeline, or rather alternate history. That is huge. Please
Well, is it alternate timeline or alternate history? Or is it the one and the same?
walk us through the thought process of that.
Sure.
Spaceballs 2 is currently being filmed. I thought they announced it. Is it being filmed? I thought it was being worked on. Isn't that just called Disney Star Wars, though, Brain? That's a parody.
So when we started working on the game, we knew that we wanted to have different factions. We wanted to have it set on Arrakis. And Paul, as a character, casts a shadow over everything that happens there. He's such an important figure to the universe. And we were looking for, like, how can we bring players in, make them feel like they have some agency in this world and they're not just going to join Paul. And so we looked in the timeline, we worked with our partners, the Herbert Estate and Legendary, and we found like a moment where Jessica made a choice about the child she was going to give birth.
Okay, here I want to say something here real fast. Since we're brought up Spaceballs, we talk about Star Wars, and then we're talking about Dune right now. Okay, do you hear the guy that's creating a video game on how he decided to make the video game based off of the movie, and how he's talking about, and how there's a moment in time, and then that's where he's doing the time split. He's putting more effort into the lore and timeline of Dune than Disney Star Wars has done in their own shows.
And in our timeline, she gives birth to that daughter. And that changes everything, right? Paul not being there creates this real vacuum of power on the planet. There's still a lot of the same events occur because Duke Leto was still, training this force of elite fighters that made the Emperor jealous, which made him make a deal with the Harkonnens, which made, the Atreides still end up on Arrakis. But then because of the events that Jessica chose, she is now more tied to the Bene Gesserit faction, and they have trained her as a truthsayer, and she has the recognition of Yue's betrayal before it happens.
You see how he's talking about, like, the backstory, right? The backstory is very important for people to, whatever it is, the backstory is very important for people to love the lore that you're doing, for people to get invested into what you're selling them.
And that leads to the Atreides being prepared for the Battle of Arrakeen, which means that they manage to defend themselves, which means that they don't get wiped out. And that leads to these major factions being in conflict on the planet of Arrakis.
Let's talk about Lady Jessica's decision then, which, started the whole thing here. Obviously, with her complying to the Bene Gesserit rule of having a daughter, why did she even make that decision in the first place?
Well, she's always been torn in her loyalties, right? She came to the Duke and she fell in love with the Duke, but she also had the agenda of the Bene Gesserit in her mind, right? And then there's the other side of course, that the Duke never made her his wife, and she has to make a decision. And of course, in the book she made the Paul decision. In our game, she made the Aristay decision, and that I think that people are very complex, and she had these these very complex ideas going on, and so torn in her loyalties. In this case, she chose the Bene Gesserit.
So let's talk about Arista's, part of the story then. Is she taking up Paul's mantle, or is she just a completely different, she is a completely different person. What's her agenda? What's her spiel?
Aristay has her own path to walk, right? And the path of the Lisan al-Gaib and the Kuzat's Haderach is not available to her, and it doesn't happen because events don't play out the same way. She doesn't end up in a situation where she has to face any of that. So she is a precocious girl. She grew up with the Bene Gesserit training that her mother would have given to Paul, the Mentat training that Thufir would have given to Paul, right? She has sword masters like Duncan Idaho training her, and the great troubadour Gurney Halleck teaching her. So she has a lot of the same abilities and trainers as Paul, but she finds herself in a very different situation in the world because, of course, the end goal of the Bene Gesserit here is that the daughter of House Atreides marries the heir of House Harkonnen in order to create their Kuzat's Haderach.
Do hate that for her, I'm not gonna lie.
So
Interesting.
So Aristay ends up under a completely different set of pressures, right? And that leads to a very different sort of life for her.
So yeah, obviously with the Duke as well as the Baron both being alive, what's happening to Arrakis, to our beautiful planet here? Who has fiefdom over it? What's the situation?
Is it beautiful? I guess it's the eye of the beholder.
So after the war, or after the Battle of Arrakis, when the Harkonnen attacked, Duke Leto petitions the Landsraad, and the Emperor decrees that the war can continue on the surface of Arrakis, but it has to be contained there. So he says it's fine for them to fight as long as they're there, but he also declares that spice still has to flow freely. So he sends.
I'm very interested in seeing how the battles happen. If the rare resources are all in PvP, that's going to be a turnoff for a lot of people.
The Sardaukar to police,
because if you're a solo player, you're done.
The spice harvesting operations and make sure that
it's going to feel like Sea of Thieves at that point.
Spice still flows out of Arrakis and into the Imperium because it's such an important resource.
So looking at Arrakis, in the trailer it does say at the very end, the Fremen being they're gone essentially. Are they gone, or are we like figuring out where they went? Where are we at?
I think that's the central mystery of the entire game, right? The Fremen are missing.
I would like to play this just for the story-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Imperium propaganda would say that they've been exterminated, but we have our doubts. So as a player, a part of the core story that you'll be following as a player is find the Fremen. And as you play through the world, you walk in the footsteps, you find the places where the Fremen once were, you explore their rites, you explore their culture, but where are the Fremen? And can you one day find them? I'm not going to answer that question, but that's part of what the story is all about.
But their cultural impact is still very much felt as I'm traversing through Arrakis.
Both their impact, like both the remnants of what they left behind when they left the abandoned Seaches and things like that, but also the vacuum of power, right? Because the Fremen that was their territory, and they were extremely fierce about defending it. And with them not in the area, other people have started to fill in the gaps.
I do want to talk about the impact that story and narrative has, though, on Dune Awakening, because it is a survival MMO. If we're looking at the survival part, usually the extent of story in a survival game is, oh no.
I'm not sure yet, Dolphin.
Oh, your plane crashed. Oh no, you're shipwrecked. Oh no, it's an apocalypse. Figure it out. Clearly, that is not the case for Dune Awakening. There is a lot of story to be explored for the players.
Absolutely. I think we want to give players a clear journey to follow in the game, right? So they can explore the world, and they have this backbone story thread that they're following through as well. If they're interested. If they're not interested, they don't have to care that much about it, right? It's there. But you follow a fairly in-depth story, and it's kind of always plans within plans. So you're always having to think about what people actually want and what the motivation is. Like, why are you looking for the Fremen? Is it a really important question that you should probably ask yourself as a player? Like, what exactly have you been sent to do this for? And I think these kind of elements provide a little more motivation for players as they explore the world.
I do love that. What are your thoughts here generally? I mean, obviously by creating an alternate history and timeline, lots of different moving pieces, can we still expect to see similar beats that, we know and love from the books or the movies?
Absolutely. I think that just because Paul doesn't exist, a lot of the factions have the agendas that they had, right? And they're still trying to achieve the things that they were trying to achieve even when Paul did exist, right? In his universe. So you will encounter, first of all, characters who
didn't they use Paul in the early material? Or was that just a character they created?
Maybe would have died in the books due to certain events. They're present in the game. You'll also encounter factions trying to achieve goals, but in a slightly different way because they don't have to account for the Paul element, right? So for players, it's great because I think Dune fans should get a kick out of exploring the way that the thought experiment of like, okay, if Paul's not here, what is here, and what are people trying to do, right? And I think that
right? That's him, isn't it? So I'm just asking a question. Are they doing a They doing a bait and switch here?
Kind of leads to very interesting consequences as you play.
Yeah, I love the far-reaching consequences that has into the future of the game as well. We talked last time already about, you know, respecting the source material, which there is so much to draw from with the books and the movies. How do you make sure when you're creating an alternate history, that's a big step. How do you make sure that you're not veering too far away from that source material?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of like taking.
I don't know. Ask the writers of Disney how far they've come off the lore. I think he's doing a pretty good job, but he's got a world where he can actually make his own stuff, and he's still sticking to pretty much the lore.
The source material as always the starting point, like being able to extrapolate out in ways that are like as logical as possible, and being able to say, look, I started here at point A, and my conclusion is yes, I'm here at point B.
Oh, I'm not watching, Jason. I'm watching people making videos on the show,
and because
that is more entertaining.
Because of the old history, this makes a lot of sense as a logical conclusion. So we start there. Then, of course, we have like our partners at Legendary and the Herbert Estate who can keep us grounded and keep us in line with what we should be doing, right? So we run a lot of our stuff by them for fact checking. Like we have this ridiculously long timeline document that we've written.
See, this is what I'm talking about. How hard is this, right? Like, they are making a game that's on an alternate timeline, but yet they're still going back to the lore, right? Like the foundation of what Dune is, so they can tell their own story, but at the same time stay true to what it is. The funny part is, this is a whole series built on sand, and it's got more lore than the people that build the actual foundation, right?
And I think it's like 10,000 words of just timeline. And then we've shared that to get it approved by the Herbert Estate and things like that. So
how to get it improved by the estate. This is what I'm talking about, man.
We do our research, and we always start with the source material.
And I mean,
imagine that. Imagine starting with the source material. Crazy.
I think it's pretty clear from everything you've said, from everything we got to see thus far, that there's a lot of love and respect for the Herbert's writing, for the source material we're also seeing from the movie. So I know for sure that the game is in very good hands with you guys, Joe.
Thank you. I mean, I will say the one thing that we try to do is just make sure that we preserve the legacy. And part of the reason for doing an alternate timeline is that we don't want to step on what's been created.
I love what he just said there. The reason that we made an alternate timeline is because we didn't want to step because I'll be honest, right? If you're doing something and you just sway just a little bit off of what the original is, people would lose their shit because they love that world. Okay. Now, I'm not a Dune guy. Okay. I'm interested in Dune, like the story of Dune. Okay. I've watched the movies and whatnot, but I'm not like I am for Star Wars. Okay. And you could have changed, and again, going to the Star Wars reference here, they could have gone a little further and done what they wanted to do, but instead they put it close to the original trilogy or the original series, and they're like fucking with stuff.
It's amazing. We want to do the sideways thing and not actually ruin any of the canon over there.
And it's honestly so smart, because in doing so, you now opened up this whole new alternate timeline for everyone.
Right. Which is smart, and I can see people that are upset. All right, what else we got? Narrative and spiritual. We got this. Okay.
In Dune, Paul uses the Fremen prophecy of the Messiah as a tool for survival, right? He sees the path ahead, he sees the consequences of this decision, but he has to push forward because all the other path leads to chaos and to the end of his family's legacy. Your story is also one of survival, but you are not Paul Atreides, and you'll have to embrace the chaos instead of avoiding it. As a part of the story of Dune Awakening, you will have the opportunity to explore and experience the religious and spiritual journeys of many of the people you will come across. Our Arrakis is still the harsh, unforgiving planet created to train the faithful, but Jessica's decision to bear a daughter, Ariste, instead of Paul, has created an entirely different political environment for you to navigate. You will have to evolve in a world in turmoil, a world with no clear dominant force that is embroiled in a long and exhausting war of assassins. This power vacuum is breeding instability, but also opportunity for many, including you, the player. Arrakis is a crucible from which many factions and groups and sects have splintered and spread and festered, each with its own set of beliefs and waging a war against each other.
I wonder how many people you can have in your guild and whatnot, or your clan.
Fighting for their own little patch of desert. Like, for example, the Masquerade, who are a...
This game's gonna be brutal. This game's gonna be brutal playing by yourself.
A cult of religious fanatics who have copied and twisted even.
Like, you'll be able to play the story, don't get me wrong, like the main story and stuff. But if you want to be like, play like you do in like survival games, you're gonna need to group up with someone.
Even the Fremen way of life. As a player, you may not be the Messiah, but the spice
They've
will
shown
still
gameplay
guide
over
you
a
in
couple
your
videos
journey.
over the past
You will have to
6
learn
months,
the
8
ways
months.
of the desert by following the teachings left by the Fremen and undergo the mystical trials of Akal. Because for the Fremen, learning to survive Arrakis is already in itself a spiritual awakening, a spiritual journey. Villeneuve's movies have shown us the danger of taking up the mantle of a spiritual leader. They have shown us the power that comes from it, but also the damage it can cause. This story, however, has already been told. Yours has yet to be written.
Yeah. All right, there's that. That's the full trailer. That's 3 months ago. Okay. So we got 32, we got 5, 10, 15, 16. Yeah. All right, so we're good. That was all the videos. These are all the new videos, and this is the entire thing that we just watched, but we watched separate videos of it. Look, I'm excited for it. I like trying those games out, the survival games and whatnot. When they first announced it and said they're leaning really heavily into what the Star Wars Galaxy type of game was, that perked my interest up right away, because I love, to this day, Star Wars Galaxies was one of my favorite MMOs of all time, because they did stuff in that game that no one's ever done in any MMO since then. Okay? There was like purpose and a meaning behind what you did in the game. They didn't like screw your time until they did. Right? They respected your time until they didn't, when they made everyone where you could start off as a Jedi or as a Sith, where before you had to build up to it. So hopefully this game has a nice a nice foundation. Excuse me, has a nice foundation, and that it doesn't do it like New World did. New World, when there's like factions and stuff involved, and there's like an in-game world economy, what happens is one faction gets gigantic. And the other two, there's the other one that's semi-big, and then there's the one that just dies off, and they're like, I'm not gonna do that. So if there's stuff like that in the game, that's gonna suck. If there's lots of different factions around, and it all depends on consistent basis of the world, the server that you're on, it'll be interesting there. As far as the rare resources, because they showed a couple months ago when we watched about the PvP aspect of it. The PvP aspect of it is that you have to go, like, a ship will crash land, and you have to go find the remains of the ship so you can get the stuff, like the high-end resources. If you're by yourself and you don't have a group with you and you show up in that PvE area, if it's just me showing up in a PvP area and a group of 10 gets to destroy me, then that's bad. But if we can go in and, like, you go into the area and it, like, match makes, and it makes, like, 2 teams, and you separate the scavenger stuff where whoever wins it gets majority, you know what I mean? That'll be interesting. Because if it's a thing where I can't get in there, I'm a solo player, I want to sneak in and try to do certain things, and I keep getting killed, then it's forcing me to play the game a certain way. And I'll push back on that. I don't like stuff like that. Terminator is also is getting a survival game. I heard they were getting something. I don't know if it's a survival game. Eclipse says, I'm glad they'll be doing their own timeline. I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah, I think when they were talking about, when me and Sarge were talking about it in the very beginning, they were saying, well, how are we going to make this exciting? Right? How are they going to make Dune exciting? Because we know the story. Because they're doing an alternate timeline and the way he described it, it's going to be interesting to see. Look, as a game itself, if the mechanics are good, it'll be fun. Like, right now, I'm really enjoying Fallout 76, right? We'll be playing that tonight, by the way. Fallout 76. We're going to continue the story of the new the Valley DLC that came out. Skyline Valley. We're going to continue that tonight. I like that, where, you know, it's just, I'm in the world, I'm living within the world, I have a place. You could do that. You could build your own base in this. You can keep upgrading your stuff. You have other people join your team. I like some of the mechanics they're doing. The flying over and seeing it, that's interesting. How the servers are going to be. But I wonder if the server is going to be like, for instance, in Fallout 76, if I have a house and I go on a server, it says your house can't be placed because someone else's house is there. Do you want to stay on the map? Sure. Right? Or no. If it's something situated like that, or is it, you know, you're on that same server like a World of Warcraft or any of the MMOs. Like you pick that server that you're always on, or does it automatically put your base on whatever server you're in? You know what I mean? We'll see. Let me see if there's a release date or anything of the sort of this. There is no release date as of yet. There's a beta sign up. You can sign up for the beta. And right now it's only on Steam. I still want a Mass Effect game as a survival. Oh, like inside that realm. Release date 2026. Yeah, I would probably say it's like late 2025, 2026. They have to do the beta and stuff first, right? It's interesting. I'm interested in it. All right. Like I said, we'll be playing Fallout 76 tonight. Skyline Valley. Continue with the story mode of the update. I went back this weekend and just started playing Fallout 76 and unlocking other things I haven't done in the game. Man, there's so much story. There's so much story in that game. Who would have thought 5 years after the fact I'm like enjoying a game that I didn't enjoy as much as I did when I first played it. Obviously, when it came out, it was a jumbling mess. But I enjoyed it. But I'm really enjoying it now. the best thing about this game is it's non-canon. Well, right, but at the same time, I think the best thing about this game is it's non-canon, but at the same time for Dune Awakening is that they're staying close to what the canon is, right? They're taking canon story and then making it an alternate timeline, so still things persist in the world of Dune inside your timeline. It's just an alternate timeline, which is smart. Jones says, I'm back on the Ark survival train. Did they just add like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or something into that, Jones? And then I heard, aren't they adding... Where are they adding? Okay, I'm waiting for Transformers Reactivate, right? No news on that. And yet, for some strange reason, Transformers are showing up in all other games. Overwatch, they're doing Transformers and something else. I'm like, what is happening? They're really, you know, pinning down this 40th anniversary thing for Transformers. Fallout COD are doing a collaboration. Yeah, I saw that. And people are actually, they're like, it looks pretty cool. I'm not going into Call of Duty because I can play Fallout. I'll just play Fallout. Transformers in 76. I'm here for it. I'm already playing 76, so. Give me a mod where my power armor suit looks like Optimus Prime. I'm good. Actually, that would be pretty cool, Travis. If they could take the Fallout and they make the power armor in like some sort of design like Megatron or Optimus Prime or Soundwave, I'd be okay with that. Doesn't have to look like them, just like the color scheme and stuff. Dolphin says, buy a $20 Fallout skin in COD just to get killed by Cheech and Chong. Or a sloth. Let me see. Anybody else have a problem with, those of you that are on Twitter, anybody else have a problem with Twitter not updating? Like, my feed is like hours and hours behind. I don't understand. What's Twitter? Let's see what else is going on here. Any other stories before we call it a close for today? Oh, are any of you guys playing Wayfinder? And if you are playing Wayfinder, how is it? Is it good? I don't have time to play it, but we need a mass game. Damn it. What would that game be, though, Brain? You know they would take the mask and make it into like a car racing game. You know that's what would happen. Travis, you don't know what mask is? Travis, how you need to educate yourself. No, not Jim Carrey one. Oh, for God's sakes. Fucking mask, man. There's these vehicles and characters, a whole TV show. Great fucking toys. I'm giving my toys, these toys right here, I'm giving to my son this weekend. I think he's getting these this weekend. My brother has them down south, and I told him to pack them up and ship them up. I will sue you. These are great fucking toys. Open world like God of War with downloadable vehicles over the first 6 months. Let me see if I can get you. It'll get hit. I know that for sure. Well, you get the box set, $3.
Shout fetch.
Okay. Here's the music. We're gonna get hit for it, so at the end of the show I can just cut it out. Here we go.
Mask Volume 1, finally available on DVD. This 2-disc set includes the first 11 episodes of the original animated series. Join Matt Tracker and his
Matt Tracker
Mask team as they protect the world from the sinister Miles Mayhem and the evil plots of Venom.
It's a great show.
Bring home one of the most enduring animated adventures from the 80s with Mask Volume 1.
I mean, let me tell you something. There's one thing that we have as an adult in my mid to late 40s. Okay, we had a fucking kick-ass childhood. Let me tell you. Okay. All these brands that now they get shit on, okay? G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mass, Exo Squad, GoBots. We lived in a time as a kid. We had it all, man. Fucking great movies, great music, great fucking toys. I feel sad for everybody else. We had so many good things. It was great. It was great. It got weird around, I think, like season 4, right? I think it was like season 4. It turned into like a Cannonball Run type of show, right? It's an organization that went up against, it's sort of like G.I. Joe, Decepticons, Autobots, G.I. Joe, Cobra, Mask versus Venom. It might be 2 seasons long, but there was a lot of... Here, hold on. There's got to be... I'm pretty sure... Hold on. You got to remember, shows were different back then as far as... is 2 seasons, but there were like 20-something episodes, aren't they? There's 75 episodes. Yeah, see, this is the problem. There's 2 seasons, but there's 75 episodes. So, around season, or around, I guess, episode... Let me see. Episode... That's all fighting. Where's the racing ones? It's 35. Oh, they don't have the racing ones here, I don't think. It turned it turned into a Cannonball Run style type of show. Yeah, so there's 75 episodes. It runs so fast, you got a headache. This is the problem with shows back then. It was like 22 minutes, right? And they were definitely all commercials. While you were watching the show, you would get commercials for the show as well. Oh, 100%, Brain. 100%. We had so many good cartoons. Like, they were cheesy, don't get me wrong. But they were just lasers and robots and cars and trucks and airplanes and shooting shit. You know what I mean? 90s cartoons greater than 80s cartoons? Or disagree. Now, Exo Squad's in the 90s. So, 90s cartoons had some good ones. But you got to remember, Jason, in the 80s, cartoons were literally made to sell the toys. Because they passed a law back then. They had to stop the law in, I think, 95, I think is when they stopped it. Right? But they used to literally make, like, Transformers, GoBots, G.I. Joe, He-Man, all that stuff came because they were just trying to sell toys, and that's why the show was there. The shows were 22-minute commercials to sell toys. Ghost Fixer says, commercials in the 90s were way more entertaining growing up than today. Oh, yeah. At Johnny Quest? Yeah. I don't think they've got, Travis, the Mask here. This is not, they're not putting in the episodes of Mask when they switched it up to the Cannonball Run stuff. Did that make cartoons worse? Did it make it worse because they? I guess the question I'm asking, Robert, are you asking if that law made the cartoons worse, or are you saying after they got that made the cartoons worse? I think the cartoons in the 80s were better. After, yeah, no, cartoons got worse after that. At least in my opinion, I feel like the quality of the shows went down. The quality of the toys went down. The 80s and early 90s were 100% a kid market, like a toy market. No, I think there's some truth to that though, right? As you get older, you kind of like lose interest. But for instance, Exo Squad, if you guys have never seen Exo Squad, that's another cartoon that was very short. Awesome. Awesome show. If you guys have never seen Exo Squad, go try to find a copy of Exo Squad. Okay? It's a great show. It'll go full circle. I don't want remakes and remasters of the shitty cartoon games that we had on the Nintendo and stuff, of games that we had, like of cartoons. But I would love to see games that were shows and stuff from the 80s and early 90s made into video games today. No, there's definitely shows that you can pin Argus that had great shows, right? I think in every era there's really good shows in places. The 80s, though, the 80s was just filled, like everything from the 80s was a hit show because it was coordinated with toys and stuff. As a kid, man, you were just bombarded with so many cartoons. Like look at this. Oh, and ironically, here's the cover of the racing squad of Mask. It says 2 seasons. You can watch them on Tubi. Okay, but look what we had: Thundercats, He-Man, Silverhawks, Turtles, Voltron, Mask, Inspector Gadget, Smurfs, Garfield, Heathcliff, DuckTales, Transformers, Gem, right? We forget about Ewoks, right? We had She-Ra, we had Gummy Bears, we had the Adventures of Galaxy Rangers, right? You had Heavy Metal, the Mario cartoon, right? You Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Defenders of Earth, right? We had Jason the Real Warriors, right? We had so many, like, just spew of all of this. Right? And these were all hit shows. These were all hit toys. Right? If you look at what's on TV now, okay, they remake everything. Or remaster. They redo it, right? They've changed DuckTales and a lot of the Disney shows. They redid. They redid He-Man, okay, right? They redid. They try to do Thundercats, right? They try to do all the stuff that was invented back then is just redone and hashed over and over and over. And don't get me wrong. Growing up, I watched a lot of black and white TV. Okay, when I first started watching television, I used to watch like The Honeymooners and I Love Lucy and Gilligan's Island and all that stuff, right? And Opie and you know what, all those shows, right? I used to watch older shows that were like 40 years old. Hey, Lone Ranger, all that stuff, right? I'm just talking about like the cartoons that were created in the 80s is what's shaping and what they're trying to like capture again. Like the 80s had so many cartoons. That wasn't He-Man. That was basically She-Ra. Yeah, the new one. Like, and there's so many. Oh, Ghostbusters, right? Right. There's so many cartoons and stuff there. Now, obviously, there was the movies of Ghostbusters first, but the cartoon of Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, was great. Okay. There's a bunch. Just, I don't know, man. The toys were built better back then. I'll show you a couple of them when they come up. Toys nowadays are just they're really just shit. They really are. They're just plastic shit. The molds are not good at all. All right. That's going to do it for me today. I appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us as we talk about gaming news and random stuff. I appreciate it very much. If you like what we do here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. We only have one more show. We're doing the gameplay tonight, and then tomorrow morning we're doing a show, and then I'm off for an entire week. I won't be back until next Wednesday or Thursday. So there's no Generation X gaming this weekend or this week. So I'm going on vacation for a week. We come back, I think, on a Wednesday. We might do a Generation X gaming. We might miss 2 weeks in a row. And then I'm back for 10 days, and then I leave again. So July is going to be a real off. End of June into July is going to be a little weird scheduling-wise. So I'll be on Discord. You guys can chat with me on Discord and whatnot. We'll talk about gaming news and whatnot. I appreciate it very much. And I'll see you guys unsub for 2 weeks and come on back, Jones. All right. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.